Hi, welcome back. Today, I want to talk a little bit about burnout because I'm in my practice and in my personal life and in the people around me. I'm seeing a lot of signs and symptoms of burnout in the wake of COVID and all the other stressful circumstances that happened preceding and in the midst of that as well. And I just wanted to kind of support people around identifying if they're in a space of burnout, identifying if their kids are in a space of burnout, and what to do about it. So, burnout is a real thing in both emotionally and physically. It is a result of chronic stress, and what the forms that stress can take are many. I think we all tend to go to work stress or relationship stress, family stress, that sort of thing. So, and those are real stressors. But the other things that cause a stress response in the body, and I've got some notes, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit because I'm not going to memorize all of this. Um, Things like a pandemic, things like volatile political circumstances, feeling generally or specifically unsafe in any way. Also, things like insufficient sleep. Caffeine actually causes a stress response in the body. Excessive exercise can cause stress in the body, as well as insufficient exercise causes stress in the body. And the more subtle things, exposure to things that you're allergic to causes a stress response in the body. Processed foods with a lot of chemicals in them, sugar, actually alcohol, obviously nicotine, street drugs, all of these sorts of things cause a stress response in the body. So, the thing about the body is that the body has one response to stress only, and that response is your HPA axis, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is basically your fight or flight response, your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which we talked about a couple of blogs ago. So the body has this one stress response, and that's what it lays out for whatever stressor you have going on, depending on the level of the stress. So chemically, what that looks like is an adrenaline, cortisol, glucose response, and what that chain of events or chain of reactions does is it prepares the body to either fight or flee. This is meant evolutionarily to happen very rarely. We're supposed to very rarely be in fight or flight response. And being in fight or flight response chronically, which I think so very many of us have been over the course of the last couple or maybe even the last several years or maybe all of our life, because American culture is not maybe the healthiest culture for humans. And especially if you do not fight or flee. So if you go into fight or flight response and then you do not actually do something with all of the glucose that's dumped into your body as a result of that to prepare you to fight or flee, being chronically in this state, it wreaks havoc on the body and the mind. It causes blood sugar dysregulation. It causes cortisol dysregulation. It causes immune system dysregulation. It causes chronic and systemic inflammation in the body. And these things cause a weakened immune system, obviously, weight gain, brain fog, headaches, achy joints or body aches, poor digestion, where you eat food and you feel like it just kind of sits in there, miscellaneous problems with digestion, poor detoxification, where you are more prone to rashes. You may kind of feel like you've got sludge in your system. Increased chemical and food sensitivities, increased allergies, intolerance to exercise. Like you used to be able to go out and do a thing, and now it's really hard to do that same thing, or you walk up a flight of stairs and you're winded. You may have had COVID, and that definitely causes that, but burnout causes that as well. General exhaustion and low energy, and from an emotional, that's physically, but also from an emotional standpoint, feeling like you just have super low or even no ambition, no motivation, no passion for life, hard to experience joy, having a hard time, like the idea of taking a vacation or socializing, which should restore your energy, actually just the idea of it feels exhausting. And a tendency towards anxiety, overwhelm, and irritability. So these are all signs of burnout. There is a tendency, I think, among us to medicate our burnout by fueling ourselves with caffeine in the morning to get going, and then soothing ourselves potentially with alcohol in the evening to chill back out. That's actually maladaptive coping, but good effort at coping with cortisol dysregulation, which cortisol regulation manages your energy throughout the day. And a lot of times, one of the pieces of burnout is that your energy is really low in the morning when it should be high, and then it amps up in the evening when it should be kind of dialing back. And so there is a tendency to do this kind of caffeine alcohol thing. I don't have the statistics on me today, but the statistics around increased rates of alcoholism especially since COVID, prior to COVID actually, but especially since COVID, and especially among women in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, early 50s, which is alarming, because this is the age that a lot of those women are parenting, mothers. But it makes some sense in that, especially during COVID, COVID was really grueling. Especially also if you're working in any kind of the essential professions, helping professions, if you're a teacher, if you're a nurse, if you're a therapist, if you're a social worker, if you're one of these, if you're in the medical field in general, if you were in one of these professions where your life got really grueling over COVID, and also you had kids at home and your kids were stressed and you were homeschooling, that segment of our society, that portion of our tribe really struggled, and the burnout rates are really high. And unfortunately, it's looking like the alcoholism rates are high as well, which is part of what has motivated me to do this talk and have this conversation, because I think we need to have so much compassion and provide so much support right now. So the other thing I want to talk about is, and this is normal human brain maintenance, but it's particularly pertinent right now. The human brain has something that is essentially like a defrag program in a computer. And the defrag program in a computer goes through all the files, and it finds the bits of code that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it basically just like finds the junk and cleans it out, gets things organized and squared away in there so the programs can run effectively. The human mind has basically the same thing. And what that program does is it goes through and it finds emotions that you weren't able to process in the moment because it was overwhelming, or there was too much going on, or it was a crisis. And it finds information that wasn't able to be processed and integrated. So whether that's stressful experiences, unusual experiences, new and confusing experiences, things where you had a really steep learning curve, the defrag program of your mind goes through and finds all those things and processes them and kind of puts them away and tidies up in there, so that you can, so that the feelings that you're dealing with, the emotions you're dealing with, are just the emotions of the day rather than this backlog. And also so that you can continue to take in and integrate new information. So in the absence of that defrag program running, you tend to end up kind of emotionally all over the place and having like emotional responses that are not the appropriate amount of response for the circumstance, or that are kind of coming out of left field. And it also makes it very difficult to continue to learn. It kind of shuts down the learning process because you haven't had time to integrate the information that the brain already took in. So the brain doesn't want to take in any more information. So in the absence of running that program, you tend to see a lot of overwhelm, emotional dysregulation, and like I said, inability to learn new info, or finding it very stressful to learn new info. What it looks like when that program runs is a really deep space out. The kind of space out where you have spaced out and you are gone somewhere, and someone tries to get your attention over here, and it's almost painful to pull yourself out of it and pay attention to them. That was your defrag program running. It doesn't run while you're sleeping. It doesn't run while you're watching TV. It doesn't run while you're engaged in an activity. You genuinely have to be just kind of doing nothing, and then it runs, and that allows the system to clean itself up. So what does that look like for kids? Because I think we all have experienced this ourselves. But what that looks like for kids is when they've had so much new information, so many new experiences, so much stress, so much stuff to deal with, and this has definitely been years of that for them. They tend to fall apart emotionally more easily. You'll see them either shutting down or kind of amping up out of anxiety. You'll see more anger and aggressive behavior out of kids. Resistance and oppositionality, where they don't want to do a thing. Like they just like, it's a thing that they even theoretically wanted to do. It's a fun activity, but they just kind of dig in and seem to have a hard time doing it. They're easily confused, or they're losing track of things pretty easily. So that's something that I think is going to be really pertinent here in the next several months, because the defrag program also doesn't run during a crisis. It waits until the crisis is over. And I think we're just finally arriving at a place where it feels like it's kind of over. I mean, it's not like COVID went away. It's not over. But life is starting to feel a little bit normal at this point. So now's the time when this really needs to happen for kids. So what do we do about burnout? First of all, well, actually, what do we do about the defrag program? So let's talk about that first, because that is the first step of burnout. What you need is downtime, and that's for kids and adults alike. You need to literally rest and relax. You need to give your body time to be in the opposite of the fight or flight response is the rest and digest, the parasympathetic response. You need to just have time to chill, time to just be, time in nature, time maybe reading a book, maybe doing kind of a low grade creative thing, like be with your family for sure, but not like the go, 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 go kind of activity. It doesn't allow that to happen. So some unscheduled time, some downtime, some kind of veg out time is genuinely what's going to be really necessary. And time to just relax and let the body restore itself and repair itself. Like I said, stress is incredibly hard on the body. It makes us really ragged physically, and the body needs time to just repair. And it also needs some nutrients, which we'll talk about here in a minute. So that takes care of the defrag thing, and also is the first step of coming out of burnout. Cut out caffeine. It, like I said, it provokes actually a stress response in the body. That's what gives you that little burst of energy, is that caffeine provokes an adrenaline response. So if you can cut out caffeine as much as you're not going to want to because you're burnt out and you're having a hard time getting your energy back, addressing the burnout will get your energy back. Avoiding the burnout or medicating the burnout with caffeine will actually prolong the burnout. So if you can cut back on that, that helps a lot. Cut back on other things that are just toxic to the body, sugar, processed foods with lots of chemicals, because your body has a lot of byproducts of stress hormones to sort out. Your liver's real busy right now. And if you also inundate it with things that you can't pronounce that are on the ingredient list of foods, it makes it harder for your body to get caught back up with that. Eat lots of antioxidants. Fresh fruits and vegetables of an array of colors, especially bright colored berries, have a ton of antioxidants and just help support the body in getting things back on track. Take a solid multivitamin. That's going to help you out. And also trace minerals. When you're producing tons of stress hormones, you're actually robbing your body of the ability to produce some of the other more positive hormones. But you're depleting a lot of trace minerals that are the building blocks of those stress hormones. So taking a really good trace mineral supplement that's got zinc, magnesium, potassium, sodium, iodine, copper, manganese. I feel like I'm forgetting some, but like a solid trace mineral is not only going to help your body be able to rebuild, but specifically like the magnesium helps calm the nervous system. There's a bunch of things in there that also help actually treat the symptoms of burnout. And part of what causes burnout to prolong, to not go away, is a lack of these trace minerals. So like, for example, magnesium is literally what allows your muscles to relax. Zinc is what allows them to contract. If you don't have enough magnesium in your body literally physically can't relax, and being in this like tense physical state actually prolongs burnout and increases anxiety. So you really, seriously, a trace mineral supplement. Reset your diurnal rhythms. A lot of times with the cortisol dysregulation, your diurnal rhythms get kind of wonky. And you find that you want to sleep later in the morning, but you have this weird burst of energy in the evening. And then, but that actually prolongs the burnout as well, because a lot of times people kind of slog through the day and then try to get some stuff done in the evening when their energy comes up a little bit. That also prolongs the burnout. So the more you can sleep when it's dark, the better. That's going to help your body repair itself. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, movement. Get some movement, just enough, not too much. Too much exercise exacerbates burnout. Too little exercise does as well. A lot of walking, especially as you're coming out of burnout, just because the walking or gentle yoga, gentle exercise, that sort of thing, helps to calm the nervous system. And it also helps you sleep better at night and be more able to fall asleep and sleep soundly. And then we talked about it in the defrag section, but meditate, time in nature, like, it doesn't need to be a full meditation practice. Meditation practice is great, but just some time to like rest your brain, like just let your brain veg, space out, like let it, if it were a muscle, relax it, just kind of let it chill. That's going to be, it's for some people who have a more anxiety response to burnout, that's going to be a little bit more difficult, but it's definitely worth the time. So I wanted to do this post just to kind of give that information. And I feel like I'm really glossing over what can be done to treat burnout, but I want to give you just the basics. And if anybody wants more specific information, reach out to me and I'll give you an even longer and better list of things that you can do. But as we come into summer, I felt like it was really important to have this conversation because there's such a tendency in the summer, especially where the last couple of summers were so weird and so many of the activities that we like to do we couldn't do for various reasons, and travel was really shut down. So I think people are really anxious to get themselves and their kids and their families back out and doing the activities and having the fun. And I'm all about that because fun is also good for burnout. But I think a lot of us and a lot of our kids are going to need a mix of some pretty solid downtime in with that, just to be cautious so as not to end up inadvertently prolonging burnout and making it more difficult for kids to learn when they go back to school in the fall or that sort of thing, or having the after effects of this period of time last longer than what they need to. So think about like maybe some time in the yard reading books or going to the lake or the river or the ocean and just kind of chilling and having some aspects of summer that are a little bit more mellow, just to let the body and the mind rest and relax and repair, and so that we can all kind of return to our best selves. So that's my post for today. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to talk more about this. It's something I'm kind of passionate about right now. And I hope you have a wonderful restorative summer, and I'll see you guys soon.